Welcome to the Becoming Redefined podcast. I'm your host, Rachel. This is episode 3. I'm so glad you're here. If this is your first time listening, welcome. This podcast is really all about areas that we can redefine our life and build our dream life. And we are constantly building our dream life or not building our dream life with every little decision we make, whether we are aware or not aware. And so, really, the theme of what we're going to be talking about is how to build your dream life, the little things that go into that, the areas that maybe we are unconscious, how do we become conscious, and constantly proving to yourself that you are worthy of living your dream life. And that can be as simple as being able to have a slow morning when you want to have a slow morning, feeling just excited when you wake up. Those are little things that, if you feel like that right now, you may take for granted. And it's a constant journey of self discovery, of building our dream life. And that is so different for everybody. And I think really for me, there was like this really big pivotal moment in my life that showed me I am able to choose how I want my life to look and feel. Like I remember whenever I got back in that driver's seat and had the awareness that I was now in the driver's seat and then I could make that choice. And I'll start with that story because it was that first aha moment for me, and I've been able to look back on that moment and use that moment to remind myself that I can do that all the time in every decision that I'm making. So, I guess it starts back in 2018. Wow, it feels like yesterday. And I was freshly graduated college, working my quote unquote dream job. And I was sitting in a cubicle. Literally, I was sitting in a cubicle. I couldn't even see my colleagues because the cubicle walls were so tall. And I just remember like hearing everyone typing, picking up the phone and making cold calls. And I think it was like a Monday that this day was. And I remember hearing somebody just talking about their weekend and how they were just like couldn't wait for the next weekend again. And it was like Monday. And I had this like moment where I like saw my life in 20 years, and then I knew if I stayed at that job, I would literally be in a worse position. And I remember just having a mini panic in my mind of holy shit, I do not want to live my life waiting for the weekend. And so it was that day that I started looking for other jobs. And not only did I start looking for other jobs, but I started looking for jobs in a new state. And I had never moved away from like my family. I was born in New York, lived there for a while, and then moved to Mississippi where I spent most of my like childhood. And so I guess moving away was just like a very abrupt thought. At the time, my current boyfriend was living in Florida, and I had visited him on and off, so I knew that I loved Florida, and there was always something special about Florida to me because my mom grew up in Miami. I don't know what it was, maybe her stories, but I was like, why don't I look for jobs in Florida? And it wasn't even in the same town that my boyfriend was living. I just knew I loved that place and I loved the beach, and I was like, let's start there. So I started looking for jobs and, doing the whole Indeed search, all of that, applying for a lot of things. And I was like, okay, I have a marketing degree. I can go like get a marketing job or a sales job. I was really good at sales and I liked sales. But it was a lot of just generic stuff, nothing that really was passion calling. But I knew that I wanted to get out of where I currently was and I wanted to have freedom of time. Like for me, it was cool to be able to have like a job where I could decide my schedule, wake up when I wanted to wake up, like do like the gym when I want to do the gym. That was just like so far out of reach for me, but I wanted that. And so I was like, okay, let's start dreaming about like what this could look like. So applying for jobs, got a bunch of interviews, and then I was like, wait a minute. I love working in the tanning industry. And my first like job that I loved was working at Palm Beach Tan during college. And that's where I learned a lot about sales and customer service and working with others and helping manage. It just got me really excited about life working there. And they taught me really cool skills. So I was like, let's find tanning salons in Orlando. So I found this mom and pop tanning salon, went to their good old fashioned website, messaged them and asked for a job. And what do you know? I don't know what day it was, but maybe within the next day or two, I got a message from the owner and said, let's get on a FaceTime to talk. It wasn't even like a Zoom, it wasn't a formal interview. It was just, what's your number? Let me FaceTime you. So I get on this FaceTime and we just hit it off. I remember being in my room. I was like sitting on my bed taking this call. She was awesome. She was so cool. And we just hit it off. And I'm not even like joking, she said, when can you move here? I want to hand you over the business. Can you run this company? Like, when can you be here? So it was at that moment that I was like, oh my gosh, I'm moving to Orlando to run a tanning salon, run a team that I've never met, work for someone I've never met. And I was so excited. And so then I had to go tell my current boss that I was leaving, and he cried. Quite literally, tears in his eyes. I don't know if he was like just like from frustration or sadness or both. Um, but I was like, I gotta do what's best for me. And less than a month later, I had moved to Orlando and was running a tanning salon. And it was like, I remember driving to my new apartment in Orlando. And this apartment, sight unseen, roommate, literally, I met her on a FaceTime call and I was like, hopefully we like each other because I'm moving in with you. I remember pulling up to this apartment and I had never lived in like a luxury apartment before. Mind you, I couldn't even afford this place. I just was like, I will figure it out. It's all gonna work out. I move in, I like see a palm tree as I'm pulling in and I like tear up because I knew that this was just the right thing for me, even though I did not know what the heck I was gonna do, how I was gonna afford living here because Florida was so much more expensive than Mississippi. All these things. I was just like, I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I just know this is the right decision. And a month later, me and my current boyfriend broke up. We were like dating for 6 years, broke up. I thought it was the end of the world, but somehow, like deep down, I had so much faith that everything was gonna work out. And it did. I spent, a month or two grieving that relationship, and then I fell in love with myself and the life that I was building and the choices that I got to then decide for myself on what I wanted my life to look like and feel like, and just get a lot of clarity on that. I think, especially being at that age in my early 20s, I had never really asked myself, like, what do you want to do? Like, I had let a lot of the world kind of mold me, and I'm very easygoing. So if things like, look good and someone else is doing them, it can be really easy for me to be like, oh, that sounds great. Let me do that. But this was the first time that I was able to just really check in with Rachel. And I didn't have, a partner to like, see what they were doing and want to do what they were doing. Like I was just living life for me. And I got a lot more clarity on who I was as an adult, what I wanted my life to look like, feel like. And a lot of those things, like I had already known deep down internally. I just didn't give myself time to listen to me, listen to my intuition. And so I have gotten really good at just listening to my internal knowing. And I always say that I feel the most connected to my childhood self when I'm connected to my intuition. It's like I'm connected to my soul. And little girl Rachel knew what she wanted. She didn't do things she didn't want to do. Side note, I remember my grandfather was telling me what to do. I think it was like, who knows? I was really young because I think this story was told to me and I don't actually remember it. But he was trying to tell me something and I didn't want to do it and I threw a spoon at him. Like that's how little girl Rachel was. She wanted to do what she wanted to do and I felt like I always knew. But somewhere in high school, things like that, life, you just start to mold into what you're around. And if you're not checking in with yourself, you may be building a life that isn't maybe deep down what your true knowing is what you should be doing. And so that was like that moment in time where I really, really got to check in with me. And so my life started to just align itself. Decisions were easier to make because I was more checked into my intuition. Opportunities presented themselves. Me not being able to afford where I was moving, like when I tell you things just actually worked out that I can't even explain, it just happened. They happened. And I was able to afford it. I started making more money than I ever was making. I had more opportunities coming to me. And it was from those little micro decisions that I made that then bigger things had opened up in my life. And it didn't start with me being ready to do all that. I was not ready to move. I was not ready to say goodbye to my friends and family, but I just knew that I need to make a change. And I don't think you always need to make big, drastic decisions to build your dream life. But my point really in all of this is there is little micro decisions that you can be making every day that you are not, that can move you closer and closer to your dream life. And it really ultimately comes down to stepping in and becoming who you want to be before you even are that person, and making those decisions that that person would make before you're there to create the space for that to happen. And this takes a lot of like checking in with yourself, clarity, things like that, but it's the little movements. And I'll use this podcast, for example. This podcast, guys, like I have been talking about starting a podcast again for probably 6 years now, and I haven't done it. And I had this little moment the other day of like, you just keep talking about it. Why haven't you done it? And so I just hit record the other day, and now we're on episode 3, and that was 2 weeks ago that we started this podcast, and we've already had one guest, and it is not perfect. Like, I would love for the video to be better and the sound and just like the setup and all of those things, but like it gets better little by little every time. And so it's those little things that are moving me towards the life that I want to live. And I just, this, like the podcast is so amazing and fun because I get to talk and share my thoughts and feelings and bring on people who are also like doing those things that I know will be helpful for you guys listening. And we all have the opportunity to build our dream life. And I have been in the position before where I felt so out of control in my own life, and it is hard. You wake up every day, you're like, what do I do? I don't know what to do. And it's just the little things, the little decisions that you can make today that will compile and help move you towards where you want to go. If we can look at our fitness journey, for example, you are not going to get your dream body overnight. But if you look at where you are now and where you want to be, and you look at that in with one big gap, it is going to be overwhelming and exhausting, and you are going to get in your head and you may never start because if you see that big gap. But if you take it little by little by little, you will be able to get there a lot faster, a lot more consistent, and a lot more enjoyable because the journey, there's so many parts of yourself that you get to meet along the way. And everything we do there is a wonderful journey of self-discovery and a lot of lessons that we get to do. And I'm somebody who is very impatient. So I'm speaking to myself right now because I have things in my life, things that I want to accomplish that I would love to zap my fingers and be there, but that's not the point because there is a lot of parts of me that I have to discover along the way. And I'll use acting, for example. Acting is not a quick overnight success thing. Acting is years and years of work. A lot of the most well-known actors spent years auditioning. They spent years going after projects, things not working out, and then could have been on their quote unquote last audition before they go back to the real world and they get a job. And so I've been acting for 2 years and I've had pretty good success for the short time I've been doing it, but I could always be looking at where I want to be, like, I'm not there yet, I'm not here there yet, this sucks. Or I can look at the journey and just enjoy it and have so much fun and love all the little parts that I'm meeting of myself through the journey. And even the things that I'm like, oh, I hate this, like the setup, I'm telling you guys, I'm not like technological, like savvy. I don't really love that stuff. It's not exciting for me to do, but I'm doing it and I'm learning it because it's important, and I'm like proud of myself after I do it. After I set up for my audition and I have all these little like different eye lines and things and all the technical stuff, when I do it, I'm like, oh wow, like you did something hard that you didn't want to do and you didn't think you could do. So anyway, what my point is, there are so many parts of yourself and versions of yourself that you get to meet along the way in the journey of building your dream life. And if you were to have like a magic wand to be able to get what you want when you want it without the journey, you wouldn't be happy. We're always going to be building things. We're always going to be working towards things. And that journey is so cool and so fun. And when you can shift your focus to the self-discovery part, things get a lot more fun. And I know I started this episode talking about a very drastic decision that I made, But it was because I had a lot of clarity on it, and I didn't have my dream life just from moving and doing all that. It was built from little micro decisions that I decided to make. And a lot of times the dream life that we want is behind the decisions that we are not making. And so practicing every day, making those little micro decisions that the version of you that's already in the position that you want to be would do. So a question that I like to ask myself is, what would Rachel, who has a multi seven figure business, do today that I'm not doing? And if you guys listen to the first episode, the intro episode, you have a little background on what I've helped build in the past. And I mentioned that I'm building a new business now. And so the past company that I helped build was really successful really quickly. Ultimately ended up crashing and burning. And so now I am on a new venture, fully solo, learning a lot about myself. And it's very, very easy to compare where I was previously versus where I am now. And this whole journey that I'm talking about, being in one place and wanting to be in another, it can be so overwhelming to think about. And that's why you gotta back it up and really remember that you were on a journey, and there's so much of that self-discovery. And so that's what I've been reminding myself a lot. And the big question that I have to ask myself every day is, what would Rachel, who already has a multi seven figure company, be doing today that I am not doing now? Because my new company is not where it's multi seven figures yet, but I want it to be. I know it will be. What do I need to be doing today? How do I need to embody that today? And that helps me make these little micro decisions now that I know will create the opportunity for that to come. It's just a lot of little decisions every day that get you where you want to go. So which decisions are you not making? Figure those out and get into the driver's seat of your life. It is so easy to be in the passenger seat and not even realize it. There's another version of you driving that is so unaware, and you're just also unaware in the passenger seat. Become aware and get back in there. And remember, yes, you were getting to a destination, but the destination isn't the point, it's the journey. Because when you get to the destination, you're like, okay, cool, what's next? That is a lot of times what it is. And as someone who had helped build a company that grew so quickly, I had never imagined that. I thought that that was what I was going to accomplish at 50, 60 years old. And so I accomplished that in my 20s. And I'll tell you, what you feel is just like, okay, what's next? So really, really enjoying the journey and having fun every day. And that helps me wake up every day feeling so excited. And that dream life is now. That dream life is now because I get to build, I get the opportunity to do these things. I have the wonderful blessings of having these thoughts placed in my mind to be able to get up and get after it. And I have a lot of cool projects on my plate, and I could look at all the projects as like, oh my gosh, there's so much on my plate, there's so much to do. Or I could be like, oh my gosh, no, wait, how cool that I have all these ideas and all these visions that I want to work towards and build. And I can take action to actually move them forward. Okay, the podcast, we make decisions to move the podcast forward. Acting, modeling, I choose every day to get up, submit myself for projects, submit my auditions, work with my coach multiple times a week, work with my friends on scenes, do the things that I know are going to move that forward, because it's the little decisions that get me to a red carpet, get me to being in my dream movie with my dream role, whatever. Same thing with my business. What are the little things that I can do today that I know are going to get it to that next milestone? And so all of this just comes to the point that you can have your dream life. You are worthy of your dream life. But the only one that's going to get you your dream life is you. So make the decisions today that you know are going to move you towards that. And you don't have to know all the answers, have all the clarity, but there's things deep down that you know you should be doing that you're not. And it can start with just keeping the promises that you make to yourself, doing the things and seeing how that feels. It's as simple as going to the gym when you say you're going to go to the gym. Okay, great. Start with that. Let those little wins build and be the domino effect for you in other areas of your life. Thank you guys so much for listening. My name is Rachel with the Becoming Redefined podcast. If you like this episode, subscribe to the podcast, like, comment, whatever it is, whatever platform you're watching this on. And you guys have things that you want to hear more about, let me know. You can find me on social media at Rachel Kaz. And I'm excited to continue chatting with you guys. We launch a new episode every Tuesday. So chat with you guys soon.